Hello, I'm Professor Padmavati from Jawaharlal Nehru Architecture and Fine Arts University. I was the former Vice Chancellor there, and as an alumni group, we have been conducting series of panel discussions and seminars. Today, we are going to have a Zoom meeting with two personalities from Kerala, one Dr. Shailaja Nair and the other one P.B. Sarjan, her husband, and both of these people had worked with Padma Shri Laurie Baker, and thereby our interest to know from them Sri Laurie Baker's approach and how they are carrying forward his work in his firms that he had established along with P.B. Sarjan. Dr. Shailaja Nair is an architect as well as a professor from College of Trivandrum, Kerala. She had worked with us on her PhD titled Spatiality of Feeling at Home, a phenomenological exploration within the domestic architecture of Sri Laurie Baker. She had worked at Costford, Center for Science and Technology for Rural Development, for over 10 years previously. She particularly values the 17 years association with Sri Laurie Baker while at Costford and afterwards. Professor Shailaja has been involved in both governmental and voluntary initiatives, mainly participatory, local level planning and design, cost-effective design and inclusive design. She has participated in and conducted lectures, workshops, training programs in connection with these interests. She continues to associate with Costford and LBC, Laurie Baker Center for Habitat Studies. As a resource person for various training programs, she was extremely useful. Sri S.P. Sarjan and Professor Nair have jointly awarded HUDCO Design Award under Green Building category of 2012 for their own residence. Architect S.P. Sarjan is mentored by Laurie Baker and is currently the Joint Director of Costford, Center for Science and Technology for Rural Development. He is also Member Secretary of Laurie Baker Center for Habitat Studies. He worked with Laurie Baker for 21 years from 1986 onwards till Sri Laurie Baker's passing away in 2007. His association has helped him to grow as a sensitive professional and trainer. He has dedicated himself to the propagation of Laurie Baker's sustainable approach to architecture and habitat development. Throughout his career, research and information dissemination of cost-effective technology has been the priority. He has conducted very many training programs for a wide range of people, from technological professionals, students, laypersons, policymakers, government officials, both from India and abroad. In addition to the residential building of economic ranges, he has designed 26 slum rehabilitation projects with direct execution of 2. He has also designed and executed hotel projects, eco-restoration projects, such as solid waste capping, landscaping, redesign, execution of tribal hamlets, campuses, school buildings, hospitals and primary health centers, including housing and others. 6 of these projects have won national awards. Presently, he is conducting research on mud, bamboo and casuarina as alternatives to high energy consuming building materials. Architect Dr. Shailaja Nair and Architect P.B. Sarjan for you all.
Good evening. It's nice to be here with you today. Let me go directly to the presentation. Let me share the screen. Today's presentation is on Laurie Baker's approach and moving forward. And there's a personal note in this because it's not just talking about Laurie Baker, but both Sarjan and I have worked with and associated closely with Laurie Baker for many decades between us. And some of what our personal experiences also come into this talk. So let me start. Laurie Baker was born Lawrence Wilfred Baker in 1917. He was born in Birmingham and he lived to be the age of 90 years. He completed his architecture courses at Birmingham School of Architecture and he was an associate of the Royal Institute of British Architects. But he wasn't able to work at all in the beginning because it was a time when the World War broke out. So his architectural career took a break from that point onwards, as you will soon see. But he was always interested in architecture, as you can see from some of these sketches, which are his own sketches. There was Saturday excursions where during weekends he and his brothers used to travel by bicycle around the countryside, look at buildings, and he particularly used to happily share with us how happy his father was taking him around buildings and pointing out architectural features and telling him about the history. So that was, all these influences were already there much earlier before he joined his course, architecture course. And remember me saying about the World War, right? So at that time we had to take the break. But he became a paramedic with a friend's ambulance unit, and he had to go to China and Burma. And while there, he worked very much among the rural poor, to the extent that there was an interesting incident when he met Mahatma Gandhi on the way back from China. In those days, you had to wait for a few weeks at least to get a connecting ship to England. So while he was there in Bombay, a Britisher, a fellow Britisher, took him to see Mahatma Gandhi, saying, "You must meet this man." And while he was there, what happened was Gandhiji happened to notice footwear, which was handmade by himself. And Gandhiji noticed it as soon as he saw it, and he asked to see it. And everybody was horrified except Laurie Baker, because he didn't know the cultural connotations of what he did, and he was a left-handed person. He took his footwear and offered it to Gandhi with his left hand. But then Gandhiji took it in good spirit, and he spoke to him and tried to understand where this Englishman, his background. And then he told Gandhiji, "We need people like you who are willing to work in rural areas and architects to come back to India and work for us." So this remained in his mind, and when he got the opportunity, he came back to India as an architect for the mission to lepers. Eventually, while working in India, he met Elizabeth Chandy, who became his wife. She was a doctor, Dr. Elizabeth Baker, whom we call Mummy. And we also used to call Laurie Baker Daddy, but I'm used to calling Laurie Baker, but Mrs. Baker will always be Mummy to us, most of us who worked in Cosford. Yes. And the interesting thing is, they went to the Himalayas for their honeymoon, and they ended up staying there for 16 years. What happened was, when they trekked to the remote areas of the Himalayas, it so happened that Mummy's services as a doctor was required. And that very remote area, when news spread that there was a doctor there, people from all over the place, even carrying patients on their backs, came to them. And eventually, it ended up that they ended up staying there. People helped them build a small house. I'll be showing you pictures of that house. And then it built up to a small hospital. And Mummy also traveled all over the place to meet people. So that always they came to her. And Daddy was very happy. Remember his training as an ambulance with the ambulance unit. Well, he was also trained in anesthesia and obstetrics, so he was more than an ample helper to Mummy. Eventually, after 16 years, due to many circumstances, they had to leave the Himalayas. And when they did, they came to Vagaman in Kerala, which is a hill station area on the border of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And the reason they chose that, Kerala, of course, because it was Mummy's home state, and because their intention was never to live in the maddening urban crowd. It was to live in an area like they did in the Himalayas, where they could be of some service to others, a quite rural life. But as fate will have it, eventually the Bakers had to move to Trivandrum, which is fairly rural when you look at the metro cities and all that, but still a sleep enough place. And it was only after that they came to Trivandrum that Laurie Baker actually excuse me, moved into architectural practice, full-fledged architectural practice. Not that he didn't learn it. You must remember, it wasn't well over in the Himalayas that he learned the true value of vernacular architecture and how people adapt. And he noticed that how self-reliant people were with respect to materials and how they got it from, where they got it from. So he finally understood that when Gandhiji had told him that you must locate materials within that people in India locate materials within a 5-mile radius of their where they stay, and he actually saw that it was happening and he put these ideas into practice. Excuse me. Yeah, he won a number of awards, but the award that he most valued, he always said the only award he coveted and most valued was Indian citizenship, which came a bit late, but he finally got it in 1988. A note here, you may notice that it's written nominate for the Pritzker Award in 2006. It is, it is a great sorrow to me, and I think the architectural community who understand Laurie Baker's work, that while he passed away while he was being considered for the Pritzker Award. The process was going on, but what happened is he passed away, and the Pritzker can only be given to a living architect. Laurie Baker never coveted the award, but it would have meant a great deal. His contributions would have been recognized at a global level had this gone through. Let me tell you something. See, Laurie Baker, the architect, maybe we can look up in the net and find out the buildings that he has done and all that. But let me tell you something about the man behind the architect. He was an artist at this level. He made, I'll just go through these. He also sketched, this was their home in the Himalayas, and you can actually see him there in the sketch below, that he's repairing some tiles outside their house. These sketches were done after he came to Trivandrum. And he was a very funny cartoonist, if I may say so. When people spoke to him about that we must build toilets for the poor, he had a series of sketches, and he said the common no-loo was his way of saying how people had to manage in the open air, and they tried to hide themselves as best as we could. And this was a bit of this on the right here was a bit of a dig about Cosford. He spoke about, he always saw things in a different way. So he saw this as bottom-up planning. And this was exactly how we used to work in Cosford in the beginning days, you know, making do with what we have on site. The flow used to be where our office, and working, and you can see the play on word, bottom-up planning. For further information, consult Cosford. He was always a joker, and very gentle joker too. One building I'm just mentioning here about Laurie Baker, the architect, it's the St. John's Cathedral, which was built in 1973. This building actually won a medal from the Pope for indigenous Christian architecture. But it's also a testament of the times that this building was razed to the ground, and another building similar to this, but with none of the ethos of this building, was erected in its stead. You can look it up. It's St. John's Cathedral in Kerala. Laurie Baker, his buildings were climate responsive, and he explained several through sketches. You can see how his buildings let in light and air, doing away with the need for air conditioning. This is an auditorium in his famous Center for Development Studies, CDS campus. This is another building in which he built a double wall with the outer wall just half brick thick, so that it protected, let in light, let in air, and made the inside walls cooler. His terrain-friendly design, these are sketches of buildings in the Himalayas, and he had sketches also of how you must, in his booklets, very small booklets, which he always wrote by hand, sketched by hand. Now we know what is happening when we interfere with the terrain, but in those days also he recognized, if you think about it, a lot of the things he said then is happening now. The climate change, how we should treat the earth gently, and especially how the responsibilities of an architect in doing all this. He spoke about all of these things. He was an advocate for housing for the poor. I'll just skim through these slides very quickly. It was all his sketches saying that we must do these things. Incremental housing, how we could start with a core house and then build up from there. And he sketched and sketched infinite variations of the theme of how it all should be different and not just box-like houses where you put people into it. Can you imagine an architect actually, this is his working out, can you imagine an architect working out the number of bricks in a 20-meter squared house? Because that is the amount of interest he had. And he spoke of cluster planning. You will notice that the common theme when he advocated housing for the economically weaker section was it does not have to be a type design. You have to have that very personal, very site-specific touch when you design for them. And again, you can see the number of combinations he had. He very simply explained a lot of things through his sketches when he was not actually speaking to people about it. And in case you thought that it was all sketches and conceptual, this is a slum in Chengalchula. I remember B.B. Doshi coming to Trivandrum asking to see Laurie Baker's building. And when he was taken to Chengalchula, he said, this is not a slum, it is a palace. So I think Laurie Baker never differentiated between the income of the people and the beauty of the buildings that he built for them. Karimadam colony in Trivandrum, a slum, is another example. This is an intervention. These were the conceptual ideas were his as a tribute to Laurie Baker after he passed away. Cosford took it upon itself to actually build these buildings there. Moving forward, I've been speaking of Cosford, I've mentioned LBC also. Cosford, the full form is Center of Science and Technology for Rural Development. It is a non-profit making organization. It's been established for 35 years now, and Laurie Baker was one of the leaders. And we spread throughout Kerala. Occasionally, we do work outside also. The reason I mentioned Cosford, as I said earlier, is because most of us came to work in Cosford because of Laurie Baker's presence there. And you can see while all these activities are there, because whatever Cosford can do at the grassroots level, helping, empowering the poorer sections of the disempowered sections of society, we tend to do. I'm not going to dwell more on that, but just to tell you the architecture part of Laurie Baker's work, how we took it forward. You can see this construction going on here. It's completed. When this was while the construction was being done, the lower picture. It's a very rare example. I don't think you'll find it anywhere in the world when a colony of houses is being built for poor people. There were 15 type designs, and all the 15 type designs were actually built first so that the other people could choose from among these what sort of house they wanted. You've heard of walkthroughs. Can you believe a 1:1 scale model? That's the way Laurie Baker thought. He gave more importance to the poorer people so that their needs were met, because he knew there weren't many architects or other people who would try and meet their needs. I'm showing some pictures very quickly, but I want to mention this picture on this photo on the top. This is a public building, Kollam Jilla Panchayat office. When the brief was given to him, they actually suggested that this site with a water body in it be filled up and the Panchayat office built. But he said no, and he built it around the water body, and it's a beautiful place. So this picture is while the construction was going on. Just going quickly through some of the works that are done. In case you thought that Cosford, through Laurie Baker's approach, built only houses for the poor. His approach was whatever you do, it has to be site-specific, climate-friendly, cost-effective. So if you have to build a swimming pool, you build a swimming pool, but make it cost-effective. These are some projects that Cosford has undertaken. Laurie Baker Center. Laurie Baker Center was inaugurated in 2009, 2 years after Laurie Baker passed away. Now, the reason for this new organization, which is a sister organization to Cosford, was we felt after Laurie Baker's passing that there was a need to spread the ideas that he had. It was not, Laurie Baker's normally associated with brick and ideas, but there were so many ideas, as you must have noticed now, behind his work. So this had to be told, and there had to be a networking between like-minded organizations. With Mummy's blessing, She was a founding chairperson. Laurie Baker Center for Habitat Studies was started, and it continues now with these activities. And let me mention the present Laurie Baker Center campus was designed by Laurie Baker. It was the last project in which he was fully involved from the design stage to the construction stage. Here in this photograph, while he's coming for a site visit to the LBC, to the current LBC campus, he just picked up some coconut husk from the ground, and he's pretending that he has a longer beard than he actually is. As I said, his sense of humor was something that permeated his life and also his architecture, if you think of it. I'll just be showing very quickly some photos of the LBS campus, the buildings within LBS campus. LBC campus, excuse me. These were experiments in Bamboo-crete. This is a water harvesting tank with a lookout point on top. This building to the right is a recent addition, and you will notice that many buildings have started in LBC, and that spirit of what Laurie Baker said, the spirit of that campus is still there. Something more about Laurie Baker's approach. She spoke of honest architecture, and he said the use of materials, where you can see materials as materials, and he said once you start thinking and start using materials in that manner, it's not only the building that you're affecting, but it integrates, I'll quote him, integrates in its design all of the needed surrounding. And he was always an advocate of his buildings blending with the surroundings. And he spoke up for labor-intensive techniques, because he said the labor industry, the construction industry can absorb every type of worker. So the lessons we learned from him was that labor-intensive techniques using local materials are usually the most sustainable way of building. And in the coming presentation with Sarjan, he'll explain more why. Let me say something about the design principles of Laurie Baker. Why don't you read this for yourself? I'll just pause for a minute while you read. This is in his handwriting. There's one more. The next 10 comes in the next slide, if I may move on. You will notice that most of these design principles speak to a person at a very personal level. Honesty, truthfulness, avoiding opulence, follow your conscience, look to your own prejudices, have faith in your convictions, and all this speaks to him, the way he conducted his life. And it was a way of life for him. And if you notice down here, he says, have fun. When Mommy decided to write a book on Laurie Baker, and because everybody sees the architect side of it, so she wanted to tell people about some of the background of Laurie Baker, how Laurie became Laurie Baker. And then she decided to name it the other side of Laurie Baker. And Daddy said, I will be doing the cover page for you. And remember me speaking about his jokes. This is what he illustrated, the other side of Laurie Baker. This alone will tell you the type of humorous man he was. He didn't mind taking a dig at himself. Also, it's the only sad thing is this lovely book cover. In the next few editions, I'm very sorry to say that the publishers have a different cover with Laurie Baker's sketch of Laurie Baker on it. Again, the ethos of Laurie Baker doesn't come across at all, but we need to convince the publisher that by the next time they take the reprint. Okay. Laurie Baker's approach. Put very simply, at its very simplest, if you're speaking of building, forget the other approaches. He said, ask of each building component, is it necessary? If the answer is no, don't do it. If the answer is yes, think of the most economical way in which you could do it. So this brings us to the relevance of Laurie Baker's approach. I'll hand it over to Sarjan now to take the rest of it. Thank you.
Good evening, myself Sarjan. Shailaja already gave you the introduction of Laurie Baker and his way of work. Let me start with his relevance of Laurie Baker in this 2020. You see, all of us know about climate change and the reason for climate change, and most of us think because of transportation or the factories and all this carbon is coming out, carbon dioxide is coming out, and causes the real issue of our climate change. Actually, just go through our impact of building industry. Building industry is responsible for 40% of world's total material and energy use. And also you can read this, what it is there in the screen. Actually, the problem is 35% of our carbon dioxide emission is because of this building industry. You know, all of you know, I need not explain it. And also another alarming situation, 30% of our newly built or renovated buildings suffer from sick buildings. You know what is, I know, like I don't want to explain what is a sick building, but that is also an alarming situation. Laurie Baker is always wanted to build and design and construct proper building without any, or he doesn't want to make any sick building to construct or renovate. See, this is another graph of another impact of building. As you know, this is the years. We start from 1900 to 2005, and these all are the different typology of housing. This thick line, which starts from here, this 5 to going up like this. This is the construction with biomass, this line. And this triangular one is construction with minerals. When the year in 1900, our the construction with biomass is very high, this level. When it comes to 2000, in 2000, this construction with minerals cross this construction with biomass, and you can see this is shooting up. All our problems started maybe from this 2000 on, because when we start construction with minerals, entire of our carbon dioxide came into our atmosphere. The importance of construction with biomass is, when a plant grows, it will absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store that carbon in its system, which is called carbon sequestration. That became carbon neutral. That is the term called in this scientific community, carbon neutral. When a tree grows, it will absorb carbon, and that carbon, when we use that tree as a building material, we are also storing that carbon dioxide in our building. Then which will affect, the effect will be to reduce the use or reduce the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Bamboo also doing the same. Bamboo will absorb carbon dioxide, and it will store that carbon in its system. When we use bamboo in our construction method, we are also storing carbon in our building. Instead, when you use cement, when you produce cement or other materials, when you produce cement, you see 1 ton production of 1 ton of cement will release 0.83 tons of carbon dioxide. This is the comparison with the cement or the minerals and biomass. See, process energy requirement of material. You can also just go through this highlighted one. Cement needs 1 kilogram. When you produce 1 kilogram of cement, 4.6 megajoules of energy is required. For your information, all of us pay our money or electricity charges for units. This 3.6 megajoule of energy is 1 unit of energy, and 1 kilogram of cement requires 4.6 megajoule of energy. See another example. Steel requires 33.3. Here you can see this. Glass 12.7, and aluminium. 1 kilogram of aluminium requires 170 megajoule of energy. And most of our new generation buildings, they are using ACP panels, aluminum composite panels for their outside. Even whichever may be the city, Trivandrum or Hyderabad or wherever, Bombay or Delhi, all of us are using the same ACP panels for beautification of our building. The problem with this ACP is a composite material which you cannot even recycle it later. Aluminium, the main advantage of aluminium is that can be recycled. But ACP, because of its composite panel, using composite material, that recycling is impossible. That is the major setback of this using of ACP. And Laurie Baker was always against using of all this material. See, Laurie Baker's own sketch, and he was also was talking about not to do too much of transportation. He always wanted to make use of the materials which is 5 miles around the site. Always he wanted to make use of that material which is inherited from our father of nation, which you can also visit our Sabarmati Ashram or Wardha Ashram. You can see Mahatma Gandhi also used the material which is around 5 miles around of that area. And Laurie Baker also believed in that. That's why he was called Gandhi of architecture. Here, actually, in Kerala, he made this sketch because in Kerala we have only one cement factory, and rest of the cement we are getting it from other states. And we used to get cement from Gujarat also. From Kandla port, the cement used to come to Kochi by ship. And also you can see materials are procuring from the mountain and transport to this factory. In this factory, they are converting this material into cement. From there, it is again transported to the port. Then through the ship, it will come to the other port. From there again, we are transporting it to the other parts of the Kerala. But when we compare with the production of lime, and also we always think who will get the benefit of when we use this when we purchase one packet of cement here. Definitely that will go to a corporate. But when we use lime, you can see this. Lime is made of seashells. Again, these seashells are renewable material. And from this seashell, it will go to a small kiln. And from there, even the local transport is possible. Because when we purchase this one packet of lime from here, who will get that benefit? Laurie Baker always think about these things. This benefit will go to this man and this man and this man, this local economy development. And also, Laurie Baker was called poor people's architect. People think because of Laurie Baker made houses for these poor people. That's why he was called poor people's architect. But actually, Laurie Baker, when he do something, he will ask himself, this benefit, while I am doing this project or this thing, who will get the benefit? If the benefit will go to a poor family or a poor community, definitely he will do that. Otherwise, he will think twice before doing that project or whatever the action he wanted to. That's one of the reason that he always wanted to propagate use of lime instead of cement, because it is consuming less energy, less pollution, and also that benefit will go to the rural poor of the society. I will show you some of the examples which Laurie Baker Center and Cosford is trying to propagate to incorporate most of our renewable resources. I will show you how to make use this bamboo paneling and bamboo walls. This is actually, this building construction was going on and it is completed now. Last year the inauguration happened. And how we are making the walls with bamboo. As I told you, with the Laurie Baker principle, bamboo is renewable and it's fast growing, and also it's carbon, it will sequester carbon, and also very strong for the construction use. We'll split the bamboo and make a panel outside. Actually, these walls are not load-bearing walls. This is actually partition walls, and this is actually a three-storied building. And we thought of making this building as a column structure, and you can see the size of the columns here. This is only 6 inches by 6 inches or 15 centimeter by 16 centimeter column, and also on both sides of this column we placed bamboo, and also intermediate bamboo is also placed. That is also you can see from the photograph. And these panels are placed in between the bamboo, and one more bamboo we sandwiched it. In the next photograph you can understand it. Yeah, and this type of bamboo paneling is outside, and inside it is wattle and top. You can see this again bamboo weaved as a wattle here, and inside that bamboo panel we place this wattle here and put dog. This dog is also prepared with 50% of coconut husk, coconut husk and mud. One is to like 50% mud, 50% coconut husk, and lime is also in 1:10, and chopped kaya, that is what coconut we are using it, and mix it thoroughly, and mix it 3 days before itself, and again mix it when we start using it. Just paste it from inside. We'll get a mud finish inside and bamboo outside, like this. When we complete this building, this was the look. A 3-story bamboo paneled building. Different views of the building. When we started, when we start thinking of our own house, because we learned many things in Laurie Baker, as well as not only the technology, also he used to say the cost effectiveness, not low cost for the poor, it's actually way of life. We decided to do or practice what he said. This is also in his own handwriting. Make cost efficiency your way of life, not merely low cost for the poor. Practice what you preach. This is our house. We try to incorporate all these things: water sustainability, rainwater recharging, energy sustainability, waste management, and material sustainability. I will mostly speak about material sustainability. Our house is on top of a hillock. Actually, why we decided to take up that plot? One of the reason was the price was very low because there was no water on top of a hill. There was a water shortage. During that time, only 100 liters of water we can get it from our borewell in the morning, maybe 100 liters in the evening, then the total 200 liters of water. And actually, it is not a subsurface or a tube well from the bottom. Actually, surface water also we can think of. Then another reason, the municipal water supply will not come up to this top of the hill because of the height of the hill. Then because of these two reasons, the price of the land was very less in this area. Then we decided to purchase this bit of land, and we were confident about we can make our own water. We decided to purchase it, and we purchased it. You see, we decided to make our rainwater harvesting tank within the house itself. Our basement, the foundation, we converted our foundation into a rainwater harvesting tank, and we decided to collect water from the roof and filter it and store it in this tank. And the total capacity of our rainwater harvesting tank is 56,000 liters of water. Below our bedroom and till the kitchen end, the water tank is 30. And these are the materials used for this construction. Mud. Mud has taken from the site itself, and we did not even transport any mud from outside. And in Kerala, we have lots of coconut tree, and most of the coconut tree, they people just to sell it for making bricks. And coconut was a traditional building material here in Kerala. Now people are not using it. We decided to use as much as possible the coconut trees can be used, and also casuarina, atadi. Casuarina, people used to make use of casuarina for scaffolding. And we decided to convert this casuarina into a building material, and we can make use in our own house. Bamboo also used. And some country built bricks used, and all our windows are recycled. We used the windows from old houses, which you can also see our behind this video. That is actually a 100 years old window from the old house. Reused roof tiles also used, and rent and double masonry. That is also rent and double is also used. Also, you can go through this IS code for bamboo. You need not simply follow bamboo. Bamboo is having proper structural stability and structural certificate from IS code. The last bit, IS structural design using bamboo, IS 15912 in 2002, and it is revised in 2016. These four bamboos are very common in Kerala. Bambusa bamboos. Bambusa bamboos is available most of the area in India also. Dendrocoloma strictus, Kallanmula, that is also available. All this bamboo you can, all these bamboos are documented in our IS. That all values are available there. Local bamboo. You see how to treat this bamboo. We treat bamboo with borax and boric acid. That is also a 10% solution. Simply make a tank, and because of this, the outer periphery of the bamboo, this portion of the bamboo will not absorb any water or any chemical. If there is any cut, through the cut only it will absorb the water. And we make holes from one end to the other end of the bamboo. Here in this picture you can see this. These two people are trying to make hole in this bamboo. If it is a 20 feet long bamboo, we'll use a 12 feet long steel rod from one side, and after making hole from one end to the other end, they will go the other side and make hole from the, and both 12 feet will make a through and through hole through this bamboo. and we'll make a 10% solution. 10% solution means 90 kilograms of water, 6 kilograms of borax, and 4 kilograms of boric acid. Total it will be 100, and this solution is called 10% solution. We'll make this 10% solution into this, keep it in tank, and all this bamboo will keep into this tank for minimum. If it is green bamboo, just cutting, after the cutting, we have to take a minimum 48 hours, and the cutting time or the time is more. If it is after 2 weeks, then the dipping time will be 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, like that. It will increase the dipping time. Prepare the solution into this tank and dip this bamboo, casuarina, and coconut. All this material we are using is 10% solution. Coconut is also smoothened and treated during the construction. This is all cork. Make these balls and pressing it and making the walls with this cork. During the construction, you can see this. And the lower portion of this foundation, inside this foundation only, this is the foundation. Inside the room is only the water tank, the rainwater harvesting tank. See, this is mud plaster, and also the entry to this rainwater harvesting. We can open this. This is actually a built-in bed, but we can open this, enter into the rainwater harvesting tank. This is how we made bamboo slabs. You can see primary bamboo beam here, secondary beam here, and this dimension is 1.5 meters or 5 feet. And every 5 feet we have to make a bamboo beam, because the reason was we adopted this bamboo for our use. Actually, in Kerala we will not get bamboo more than like 10% bamboo, only straight bamboo. It will another 90% will be bent bamboos only. But when we cut this bamboo up to 1.5 meter, we will get somewhat straight bamboo. And this is 1.5 meter, 1.5 meter. Every 1.5 meter, we have to make a bamboo. On top of this bamboo, we used mud mixed with lime again, completely avoided cement, lime again, and placed on top and leveled it. This is the floor. This is the look after the completion of the bamboo slab from the bottom. On top of this mud, you can use any type of floor. Even terracotta you can use. Even if you want to make a marble floor, you can use. Whatever you decided to use the floor, you can use it. Bamboo openings also like this. You know, all our Kerala temples having wood, beautiful wood carving. We just replaced that wood with bamboo and did our rooms like this. This is our living room. You can see this bamboo and recycled wood. Smoothened coconut trunk is also there. And most of our columns are coconut. You can see this. This is our garage. This coconut, and again another coconut column on top. 2 floors with a coconut column. Some portion of our garage roof also. We also used split bamboo here. Casuarina. Casuarina is the main understructure. That is also a combination of casuarina pole and a ceiling with bamboo ply. Here you can see this. Just above the casuarina pole, we placed bamboo ply, and all joints of bamboo ply is waterproof, because there are issues that because of that issue, Kerala is negated sloping roof with the tile roof. The main issue is the leakage. If there is any breakage in the tile, the leak will come inside. We don't want to leak our house also. Then we decided to put as a ceiling bamboo ply we preferred. Now after 5, 6 years, Bamboo Corporation started producing, our Kerala government Bamboo Corporation started producing bamboo roofing sheet also. The same material they used, but it is corrugated. They started selling the roofing sheets with bamboo plant. And here, actually, we are using double roof protection. One is the tile, and below the tile, it is bamboo plant. And all these joints are waterproof, and we put this reapers, and on top of this reapers only we are placing this MP tiles, Bangalore pattern tiles, like this. You can see this one don't have ceiling underneath. This one you can see the ceiling, and these Bangalore tiles also, MP tiles also recycled, which is more than 100 years old. After completion, this is the house with a 3-story in one point. Actually, it is a 4-story building, 4-story, and one point it is this portion is the rainwater harvesting tank. This is the ground floor bedroom, first floor bedroom, and second floor. This house is completed in 2011, and we started living in 2012. A small bamboo bridge. This is our living room. This is a view from our kitchen. You can see ground floor bedroom, first floor bedroom, and second floor bedroom. Everywhere you can see recycled. This ladder you see, this is also a recycled ladder from an old building. Again, that is also more than 100 years old. Everywhere, all this wood you can see in this photograph is recycled. Also, you can see casuarina pole and bamboo ply ceiling, and also you can see the bamboo inside, bamboo floors you can see. Some bamboo furniture. In 2012, and this one, our plot was completely barren. There was not even a single tree in that plot. And we started planting of tree in the beginning itself. In 2012 itself, you can see some saplings are coming up. In 2014, because we don't want to leave our house like this. But Laura Baker taught us how to live with this environment. We planted trees and started growing. In 2014, we started growing. 2014. In 2016, you can see some guava is coming up. Some mango, jack, everything started growing. 17, it is like this. In 2018, this is the situation. Now we have our own birds coming around. You can, I hope, when Shailaja's presentation, you can hear many birds noise also. Some barking from the neighbor's dog also. Now he stopped. This is the condition now in and around our house. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Now we are waiting for your questions and we will try to answer it.
Hello, and architect Sajan spoke about environment, degradation of environment by building activity, impact of building materials on environment, Mahatma's influence on Sri Laurie Baker, Laurie Baker's philosophy of living, his unconventional techniques of construction. Architect Sajan showcased his construction of his house as a demonstration of sustainable construction and techniques used. Use of materials such as bamboo and casuarina in sustainable architecture. He presented a time series photographs of his house with environment around and how it has evolved over the years. Thank you so much, Architect Sarjan and Dr. Sailaja Nair, for making such a beautiful presentation. Now I request all the viewers to ask any questions if they have to pose them to the speakers today. Thank you so much.